Okay, so to begin, before, I say or do anything, I just want to make it completely clear. I know that if you play the game again, right, the story's different, right? There are new things that happen. This is not a critique of plot. This is not a critique of the story. This is a critique of the gameplay. This is a critique of the experience that the player is having when they're playing Silent Hill F. They're not. I'm not talking about the plot. I'm not talking about the story. Um, all really. I might mention it here and there, but that's not what this video is about. That's not what I'm judging. That's not what I'm critiquing here in this video. Yeah, I just wanted to make that be the first thing I say because I already know what the comments are going to look like. They're going to be, well, you're wrong because you played the game in story mode and you only played it once. And I know, okay. Yes, I played the game once and I played it in story mode and I still had a lot of problems that I don't personally think I should have had in a game, right? Um, but without further ado, this is my critique, my, I guess you can call it analysis of the gameplay in Silent Hill F. Silent Hill F is the newest installment of the Silent Hill um, franchise, I guess. By the way, this is like a completely unscripted video. I did not, you know, this is just my raw opinions. I didn't write anything down for this, but anyways, yeah. So it's the newest game, came out this month, earlier this month, and it's fun. I enjoy it for the most part. The first half of the game is really, really good. The first half of the game is really, really enjoyable. I love the part where you're in the rice field and you're doing that scarecrow puzzle at the beginning of the game. It's really, really good. It's really, really fun. As you progress and you get a little bit later in the game, I'd say this happens by the time you're like midway through, it gets really old. I'd argue as soon as you get to like that, and obviously this video has a lot of spoiler warnings, by the way, okay? Once you get to like your first time being in the weird dream realm with like the shrine thing, I don't, where the fox mask guy is in, that's when it stops being fun. That was my least favorite part of the game. I hated going there. I know it's like it's good for the story. It's where a lot of the story is revealed. Um but it it just wasn't fun, and I'll tell you why. Most of the time when you're going into this dream realm world thing, it's a lot of fighting. And fighting is the the death of this game. Fighting is the worst part of this game, and it's a big chunk of what this game is. And that is disappointing. So much of this game is fighting. Fighting, fighting, fighting. And it is the weakest point of the game. It's what makes the game hard to enjoy at times. And there were times where I genuinely dreaded a fight, right? In this dream world thing, um, your first few times going there, the monsters can you beat them, but they can just come back to life, right? So you're not actually killing them, and it's a surprise the first time, but then it keeps happening, and it's just annoying. It's just annoying. It's irritating, um, because as you progress, there's more and more coming. Again, sorry, this video is not scripted. My bad. Let me kind of digress a little bit. So, there are honestly five primary types of enemies, which is again very disappointing. It's a monster game. There should be more than five types of enemies, but that's neither here nor there. There are like five different types of enemies. Very good designs. That's one thing I'll give this game. It's beautiful. The game looks amazing. It really, really does. Hinako's design, I really like her. She looks like a normal human being. She doesn't look super overly beautiful. She doesn't look super grotesquely ugly. She looks like an average woman, and I love that. I love that they didn't over sexualize her. They didn't sexualize her at all. I love that. She's literally just a person. She's just a woman in this world. The monsters are ugly, but they're pretty at the same time. The I really, really love the designs of these monsters. I really, really do. The first monster you come across is this doll looking one. They hold like scythes, and they have a variant where their feet are replaced with blades instead of holding scythes. Um, and it looks good. Like its movements look so good. They're jerky, and that's the way they're supposed to be. It's a very intimidating monster because they run at you and stuff. Another enemy, it's like the second type of enemy you encounter. And it's like this weird, it's a blind monster. You first encounter it in that dream world I was talking about earlier. It's a blind monster and its face is dug out. Um, Walks on fours. It kind of acts a little bit like an animal. Um, yeah, acts kind of like an animal. Uh, Walking on like all fours. It crawls, like, runs at you on all fours, things like that. It scratches. Um, And that one, I mean, I'm not too big about the design. It's nothing super interesting. It just looks like, a common background character. There's another enemy that is, you actually see like more midway through the game. That's just kind of a clump of dolls. The first time you, well, yeah, no, the first time you encounter it, I think, yeah, the first time you encounter it is also in that dream world. Um, and in the dream world, it's just like a clump of like doll faces, but it has normal legs and it moves around by like it looks like it's playing hopscotch. I really like that. It's a cool detail. It's different. Another thing about this game, sorry, then I'll go back to the talking about the monster designs and stuff. A lot of the monsters, since there's only 5 different types, there are the same monsters in the overworld, like in real life, as there are in the dream, which I think is super weird, super annoying, and they didn't need to do that. I think, there should be more, there should be different monsters, right? The only difference between those two is the designs. Anyways, like for example, this clumpy doll head monster, its design is literally like the same in the overworld, except instead of doll heads, it's just normal people heads. Like it's nothing new. It's nothing different. It has different attacks. In the overworld, it kind of throws up. It kind of like, yeah, it throws up like this liquid that grows the red stuff that's engulfing the town. And in the dream world, that's replaced with more of a scream that just kind of stuns you, which I'll get to that later because that is a problem in this game. Um, the next enemy is it's called the birthing mother, I think, or the birthing monster, and it's just a big pile of like disgusting, like, I think they're pregnant bellies. A lot of people are saying that they're boobs. I'm pretty sure they're just bellies that look pregnant. Um, and then there's like like a there's a new, right? The monster has a new, and it kind of just like it births um these like mounds of flesh that eventually explode, and they explode into enemies. This monster is another one that's like, oh my god, dude, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, and not a good kind. I think for the most part, like that's pretty much all. Really no others. There's just bosses, right? But the bosses are also kind of the same. Um, and they're not super exciting anyways. But anyways, so the main part, like the biggest part of this game is its fighting sequences. This is not so much a horror game. It's yeah, it's definitely not a horror game. It's way more of an action game or a slasher type of Dark Souls game. It's not a horror game at all. It has its moments of being scary. It has its moments of being slightly creepy, but it's really not. It's really not scary because the monsters are scary the first times you see them, and then you kill so many of them that you're just like, okay, well, okay. Like by like early on in the game, you get tired. You get tired, and they're not scary anymore. The scariest part in the game is the rice field puzzle where you because you need to get up close to the doll monsters. You need to search them for, I guess, I don't even know what they are. They're like, I guess they're just like little notes shoved into the scarecrows. Um, and you need to pull them out. And sometimes, if it's the wrong one, that one will attack you. And as you progress through this puzzle, the other scarecrows, when you're not looking at them, they'll follow you. And it's just really well done. Yeah, they'll follow you, then you look in their direction, they stop. It's kind of like the Weeping Angels trope, but it's really good, it's really well done, and it's really fun. So, as you progress through the game, you fight more and more of these monsters. And so that causes you to face more and more of them. They become less and less scary each time you see them, to the point where it becomes a chore. Like by the end of the game, you will see one of these enemies and you will get annoyed by it. You will get upset by it because it's a chore it's a chore to beat them. It's not fun they're to fight these guys. Especially because it's just the same monster over and over again, and there's so many of them. It's just not enjoyable. After not even like 2 hours into the game, you're just tired of it. You're sick of it. A big part of most Silent Hill games is running. That's supposed to be a mechanic. That's supposed to be a feature in the game. You can choose to run from the monster, or you can choose to fight the monster. In Silent Hill F, there's so much you run from a monster, but then there's a dead end and you're forced to fight the monster plus whatever other monsters are in the area. And it's I don't know, it's just annoying. It's annoying. It's not fun at that point. The game features, I think, like four like mechanics during its fighting sequences. There's focus, weapon durability, you can consider a mechanic, stamina, obviously your health. To start with focus, I played it on the Xbox, so on the Xbox it's left trigger. You press left trigger and you kind of, each enemy has like this one animation that it does that prompts a glitch effect over that monster. And that glitch effect is meant to be, you use your strong attack to counter, and it kind of stuns the monster. The focus it slows down time. It slows down everything around you and the monster when that glitch effect comes up, just so that it's easier to hit. And you can tell that the game makers wanted that distortion effect, that counter, like parry type of thing, to be used a lot by the player, because there are a lot of animations that do it. But the thing is, these monsters, they have specific animations they do when they're about to do a specific attack. A lot of the time, it is hard to tell. It's just hard to tell which attack they're going to do, because a lot of the animations will start the same. And once you do catch on, they already hit you, because there's a discrepancy between how long it takes for that monster to charge up the attack. Sometimes it's weird because it takes a shorter amount of time for the monster to charge up the attack, but then another type of the same monster will take a longer time to charge it up. So it's hard to tell. And then once they do go into their combos, sometimes their combos are different. Like their combos are just different. And so let's look at the doll monster. Sometimes it'll do a combo of 2 hits, right? It'll lunge at you twice. Sometimes it'll lunge at you 3 times. I've seen it where it's done a combo of 4 moves. Um, that's annoying because when you're fighting two of these at the same time, you're trying to hit one. Meanwhile, the one that you're not looking at is dashing at you. There's a one of its attacks is when I guess it's supposed to be like it's catching you off guard. So it grabs onto you and it stabs you and you can't do anything about it and it drains like half of your health bar. It's just it's annoying. And then a lot of the time what'll happen is you get out of that animation that you can't skip, that you can't do anything about, you can't protect yourself about. It's just will you get grabbed by the monster or not? And if you do, tough luck. You get out of that animation and then another monster will come up and do the same thing to you, and then another after that animation another monster will hit you with a weak attack and you just die. That happens so often, so often. Hinako is the protagonist of the game, by the way. Sorry, this video just jumped into me ranting. My bad. Hinako, her attacks are interesting to me because on one hand it looks good. You can tell that there's power and there's passion she's putting into her hits. There's a lot of good animation there. Your attacks feel heavy, they feel important. However, with that comes the drawback of the animations are extremely, extremely slow. They are extremely slow. So when you go to do even just the weak attacks, when you go to do like a weak attack, so I personally am the type of player where if there's a monster, I'm gonna spam my button. I'm gonna spam my button so because I just want to hit, right? Hinako's not moving at the same speed that my finger is hitting the bumper, right? And so since you hit the bumper 3 times and she's still doing the animation for the first hit, the game still registers that you hit the button 3 times, and so she'll hit 3 times. I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but I did, and it was so annoying because what'll happen is you hit the button. Okay, Hinako does her hit animation, but it's a slow one. Meanwhile, you already hit you hit the bumper 2 times after that. The game, the monster moves out of the way. The game still registered that it's supposed to put out 2 more hits out of Hinako. The monster's already gone, right? So by the time Hinako finishes those 2 extra hits, you're not hitting anything. You're hitting the air, and you can't do anything about it because once you go into an animation, you can't move. You're just done, or you're just stuck doing that animation until the animation's over, then you can do something else. There's no canceling animations. You can't really dodge when you're hitting. It's annoying. It's annoying. The fighting is such a big part of the game, but it's such a drawback, and it genuinely makes the game unenjoyable. That's why this video is more about the gameplay as opposed to the story, because I found it so hard to enjoy the story because the gameplay, the fighting was such a huge part of it, and it was such an unavoidable part of it, and I couldn't get behind. It's so annoying. By like my first like 30 minutes of fighting monsters, I was sick of it. Something else I want to bring up is the bosses slash mini boss. I say mini boss singular because there's really only one mini boss. However, it's at the same time considered a reoccurring monster. It's weird. It's the birthing mother I talked to you about earlier. First of all, this thing is massive. This thing is huge, and you always encounter it in a very, very medium size to small arena. Our first encounter with the birthing mother, I thought was a boss fight because it was a new monster, so there was like a short animation, but it had such a big presence and it seemed so important that I thought it was a boss. I thought there was only gonna be one in the game. I was gonna fight it, and it was a hard fight too, because this thing has. I'll get into it. But yeah, they like made it seem so important, so I thought it was a boss. I beat it after dying like twice, and I felt good. For reference, this thing it has 3 primary attacks, and of those attacks, one is more of a just a mechanic it does. Um, a kind of a gimmick. So I already said it can birth monsters. Typically, it'll only be the doll monsters that scratch, but its other two attacks are this like kind of a lunge question mark. It's hard to tell what it's doing. It's kind of just bumping into you with its stomachs, but and that's like a close range. It's a very close range attack. Um, then it has a long range attack that is the most annoying thing during every time you fight it. That it's the most annoying thing because it's a long range attack. It can hit you from very like all the way across from the arena, like the other side, and you need to pretty much kind of just run in a circle or dodge at the specific time. And even sometimes when you dodge, it still manages to hit you. So I usually just run. And by the way, each time you run into these things, you're locked. The game does not let you progress until you beat it. So there's no running around it, there's no avoiding it. You have to beat this overpowered monster. The lunge is annoying because this thing is massive and its entire body, regardless of where you are, and it make you take damage if it's doing this animation, regardless of if you're on the side, in front of it, it doesn't matter. It also has another attack where it kind of just screams, and if you're too close, it stuns you. That's extra annoying because if its dolls are around, the things it gives birth, they're around, they'll attack you. There's no indication whether or not this thing is at low health because its design doesn't change. There's no design cue indicating that it's at low health. There's not really too many game cues that indicate it's at low health. It's just you're hitting it until it dies. Uh, that's why the first encounter with this thing is so annoying because it takes so long to kill. Later on in the game, to kind of towards the end, it gets extra annoying because you kill one, and then you run into another one in less than 2 minutes, and they're both in these small arenas, and it's just so annoying. It's so bad. Oh my god. Main feature of this game too during the fighting sequences is items. Um, First of all, you have 8 items that you can equip. Your uh, inventory begins as 8, however, it can increase as you find satchels, backpacks, things like that during the game. So your item list that you can equip in game, the things that you can actually take, they show up kind of like you can think of it as a wheel almost. Pull up this wheel and you can take the items in the wheel. Well, get this. If you have an inventory of more than 11 items, or sorry, of more than 8 items, those items will not populate on the wheel. So you need to pause the game entirely, just take yourself out of the immersion of the game so that you can equip this item into your wheel so that you can then use it. You need to like you can't use it from the pause menu either. You need to equip it from the pause menu, unpause the game, then take the item from your wheel. It's really annoying, it's really unnecessary. Then on top of that, the items take a very long time to use. The ones that don't take time are the ones that you eat. A lot of the items are unnecessary, a lot of them do the same thing. The most common are these like red pills, they're like painkillers. All they do is take a little bit of they relieve a little bit of health and I think a little bit of your um it's like basically your focus bar. But their healing is not that good. There's another one, Agare. They heal a tiny bit, but their healing increases and gets better the more you take in, concession. Concession, is that the right word? I don't know. I don't care. And then there's my personal favorite, the Yokan, which heals a lot of your sanity, which is what you use for focus, and heals a lot of your health bar. The Yokan is kind of like the bandages, which are another item, except the bandages only heal your health bar, not your sanity, and they take a while. So there are certain items that are just objectively better than others. There's not, and both tend to be just as common as the other, so there's not really an incentive to keep or drop one because you can almost guarantee that you'll find as many yokan as you find bandages. There's not really a difference in terms of rarity. Of course, that's just speaking on story mode. I'm not sure about hardcore or whatever other modes there are. Actual fighting is clunky. I understand and I enjoy that they made Hinako seem human. They did not make her seem well for the most part. They're for the most part when she doesn't have a like a fox or wolf arm that's just superpowers basically. When she's in the overworld, she's just a normal girl. She uses a pipe, she uses an axe, she uses a bat to fight, and so naturally she's gonna have, kind of a an amateur way of fighting. She's going to take a while to wind up. She's going to take a while to recover when she, um, swings her pipe. I like that. That makes sense. But like I said earlier, there needs to be a way to cancel that attack. Because once you go into that animation, you're not getting out of it. You're not getting out of that animation. It's just yeah, you have to wait till the animation is over. And so that means if you press your right trigger, which is on Xbox, the strong attack button, which takes a long wind up, it's like a solid 2 second wind up, your enemy has an opening to attack and you can't do anything about it. You can't dodge, you can't move out of the way. It's just an opening. It's just an opening. A lot of the time what'll happen, and this is most noticeable early game, you'll do that strong attack with that long wind up. The enemy will have usually the reason you're doing that is because the enemy has gotten close. You're expecting them to do an animation that'll kind of pause them a little bit. Get this, there's no pattern. So when you're expecting the enemy to pause so that it can wind up and do its own attack, enemies can cancel their attacks and move out of the way, but you can't. The enemies will stop pairing their attack. Literally, they jump backwards and they'll wait for you to hit the ground. They'll wait for you to hit the air, and then they'll jump in and do their attack. They'll lunge in and attack you. That isn't fair. That isn't fair. That's bad game design. Like, objectively speaking, that's bad game design. That's not a feature. That's not a characteristic. We should be able to cancel our attacks. We should be able to dodge mid animation. That just seems honestly lazy. That seems like they just didn't want to code that, because it makes it so that the enemies are way too strong. And mind you, most of the time you're fighting these enemies like in hordes. A lot of the time it's very common for there to be like 3 to 4 enemies on screen, right? It's very common for that to happen. And so when something like that happens, when you miss an attack, that is oftentimes catastrophic in this game, because it takes a while just as long as it takes Hinako to charge up that strong move, even the weak moves, it takes her just as much time to recover. It takes her just as much time to recover. And so by the time you recover, either you need to have very good reflexes, you need to get lucky, or you need to just eat the attack. You just need to eat the attack. It's super annoying. It's super irritating. And it's not fair. It's objectively bad design. There are features of this game, like you can lock onto enemies during fights. That feature, I never used. I honestly forgot it was a thing until I started watching other reviews of this game. I forgot it was a thing, because you need to use it like there's no real reason to. There's no real reason to use it, because again, you could be surrounded by like 3, 4 enemies at a time. And so you end up, okay, you're locked onto the guy in front of you. Meanwhile, there's a guy behind you that's getting ready to lunge at you and do an attack that you can't dodge. Do that attack I mentioned earlier where you can't dodge, and it's just the animation of Hinako and the doll monster thing and their knife getting ready to stab you, then it does stab you. You can't do anything about that. It's not. You'd think they'd make it a quick time event where I don't know, you bash X or something to get them off of you. You'd think they'd do that. It's not. It's what they set it up to look like that's what's happening. It's not. You can't do anything about it. It's just they will stab you. It's a guaranteed thing. The game even tells you straight up, like, once they get that close, once they grab onto you, you can't do anything about it. You need to eat the attack. That's objectively bad game design. And it's just, oh my God. And the thing is, like, this entire thing, it only gets worse. Like, it only gets worse. As you progress through the game, there are more enemies, not all of which are the same types of enemies you've been fighting the entire game, by the way, so there's no variation, there's no difference in the way you're supposed to be fighting. Everything's the same. Every monster has its own type of behavior. With the doll monsters, it's 3 hits and they're done. Typically with one strong attack to stun them and then 2 weak attacks. With the weird blind monster thing, it's honestly kind of just dodging out of the way, running away. I usually run away from them. I don't really like to fight them because they're just too strong. The birthing mothers, it's just a bunch of strong attacks until they die. The weird doll thing with the faces, that one you can usually run away. They're not a huge threat unless you get them in a group, or you in conjunction with one of the doll monsters with the knives. That's when they get annoying because they can stun you. It's so disappointing because I was excited. I was excited for a Silent Hill game. I love Silent Hill. I haven't been able to play one ever because I didn't feel like buying the old ones as much as I want to. I just don't feel like spending that money, and I'd prefer to wait for the potential hopeful release that probably won't happen but could potentially happen of the Silent Hill 2 remake on Xbox. Waiting for that, right? So I was like, why not just like get a new Silent Hill game? There's a new one that came out. But it turns out to be nothing like the other ones, and that's fine. I like when games innovate. I like when games are different, even within its own franchise. A lot of games that are being put out now are actually being criticized because they're not innovating. They're not doing anything different. Pokemon is one of them. I love Pokemon, but we gotta be honest. The new Legend ZA that should be coming out soon, it looks exactly like games that came out decades ago. Well, maybe not decades ago, because those were pixelated. You know what I mean. They look very similar to all the other games. And now with new technology, we're kind of expecting games that are innovating to have, some kind of depth, some amount of exploration, something new. In Silent Hill F, there's not a lot of exploration. It's a very linear game. You can give into the facade that there's exploration because you can go, through these alleys. You can go behind buildings, and usually you are rewarded when you do that, at least in story mode, because there will be, you can more or less guarantee that there will be some kind of useful item there. But it's all for nothing because then you find yourself backtracking to the main route anyways. So there's no exploration in the game. And for the most part, like, that's okay, that's fine, but then they don't really do anything with that. A lot of games like this, especially in the horror genre, if it's linear, usually it'll let you go on this other, path out of the way, then you backtrack, and then all of a sudden there's a monster. The game Silent Hill F does that, but only for the first half of the game. After the first half of the game, they stop. There's no jumps like that. It's just annoying, and it gives all the enemies, all the fighting, and there's a lot of enemies, there's a lot of fighting that's just completely unnecessary through a good portion of the game, specifically in the back half. And it very much feels like they're artificially putting in just junk. They're putting in padding so that their game is longer, so that there's more material, so that it's not a 2-hour long game. And it's not fun. Like, just straight up, it's not fun. Fighting becomes a chore. fighting becomes annoying. Fighting is just not fun in Silent Hill F. They think it's fun, they want it to be fun. It is not a fun thing. It is the worst part about Silent Hill F, and that's a shame because it's the majority of what Silent Hill F is. Now, onto some positives. The game is, aside from being beautiful, the game is very well animated. Both in game when you're playing and during the cutscenes. Everything looks good, and the animations look beautiful. Everything looks so good, and the game does an amazing job of taking you from cutscene straight into gameplay. The cutscenes into gameplay mend very well. I personally on Xbox had very few moments where you could tell, okay, there was clearly a change in quality. There was clearly a change in the way things look. I know this is a cutscene and now I'm playing the game. There was very little of that. It very, very, very smoothly transitions from cutscene into gameplay. And I love that. I adore that. I think every game should be that way. A lot of the puzzles tend to be okay to figure out. I am personally kind of a meathead. I'm not super good at puzzles in games, but in Silent Hill F, they all, for the most part, tend to be pretty easy to catch on to, and they're fun. And you kind of, personally, I don't know, maybe it's just because, like I said, I'm kind of a meathead. I feel good after completing a puzzle. I like that. But there was this one in the classroom that was so weird, so convoluted, made no sense, and it was that one with the box and the sliding pieces. There is very little, there is very, very little there to go off of. Basically, you get these notes, right? And the notes have little hints that are supposed to help you open the box. It works. The notes are helpful for the maybe like the first iteration. Then you get to the second and the third iteration, and you're like, okay, can this be done? Can this be done? Why is this happening? I needed to look that part up. I also noticed that, and again, I feel like the game got to a point where either it was rushed or the developers had a completely different idea for how they wanted the second half to play out. Because at the beginning of the game, it's creepy, it's eerie, it's nerve-wracking. There are a lot of puzzles, some of them funner than others, but there's, it's entertaining. During the last half of the game, that goes away. It's not scary. It stops being a horror game and it's more about being action. There's no puzzles during the last half of the game, and like what you can consider a puzzle, it's not even really a puzzle. It's kind of just like a retrieving thing where you're just going to you're fighting more monsters to get an item so that you can put the item somewhere, and then you're fighting more monsters to get another item to put that item somewhere else. It's, or even like in the same spot. It's just really annoying and it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. I don't know. I think I ranted long enough. I don't think this video is even gonna make sense. I think it's gonna, I think this video is probably gonna just be me ranting and just kind of making no sense about anything I'm saying. But those are my thoughts. And like by no means did I hate the game. I enjoyed it. There were a lot of parts that were fun. There were a lot of parts that were satisfying. I can say that for all the frustrating moments in the game, the cutscenes make up for most of it. Like I said, it's a beautiful game with a beautiful cutscenes, very well animated cutscenes. So a lot of the annoying fights are usually rewarded with an entertaining cutscene. The voice acting is amazing. I love the voice acting. But this is a Silent Hill game, right? There's very little amounts of horror, let alone psychological horror. And I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the story, but I feel the need to put this into perspective. Silent Hill 2, the protagonist killed his wife. In Silent Hill F, the main issue right? The glaring problem that there is, and it might not be the glaring problem, but it's one of the bigger problems, one of the bigger issues, is Hinako's friend, Rinko, has a crush on Hinako's other friend, Shu. Shu gets along better with Hinako than Rinko. That is ridiculous. For a Silent Hill game that has imagery of what is essentially AS backwards, resorting to high school drama, that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. That is an embarrassment. Because we're going from serious big topics, personal, emotional, visceral issues, into common schoolgirl problems. And you can say, well, you have to play through you need to go through it again, 2, 3, 4 times to get the full picture. No. No, the game's not enjoyable enough to do that. And you can tell me, well, it changes, the story changes. No, because it's not going to change the gameplay. It's not going to change the biggest, glaring issue that this game has, and that is the fighting. And the fighting is 80% of what the game is. And playing the game again is not going to fix that massive, massive issue. I had trouble finishing it the first time. Genuinely not wanting to play anymore because the fighting was just so bad and clunky. I don't want to play the game again. And it's okay to have stories like that where you need to play it multiple times to get the full picture. That's good. I like that. That is a good feature. I love that. But the rest of the game needs to be fun. The rest of the game needs to be enjoyable. I should not feel like I'm at work. I should not have to feel like I'm putting in a 9 to 5 to fight enemies in a video game. Come on, guys. And I feel like a lot of this is being looked at through rose-colored glasses, whatever the phrase is, because it's a Silent Hill game, or at least it's a game with the label Silent Hill, if, you can take that how you want to, set in Japan. And since it's set in Japan, and everything set in Japan has to be, is a gift from God, people don't want to admit that it's a mediocre game. The visuals are amazing, the voice acting is amazing, the premise is amazing. I love the idea of a Silent Hill game set in Japan. But the game is still subject to being a bad game just because it's set in Japan. People love to make everything set in Japan seem like this beautiful piece of art that can do no wrong, that is just flawless, and that's not true, right? Just because something's from Japan does not mean it's amazing. We romanticize Japan too much. There's not enough in this game that makes me want to replay it. It very much feels like a one-time thing. Maybe I'll replay it for the UFO ending because I love Silent Hill's UFO endings. They always turn out to be fun. But, realistically, it's not a super overly enjoyable game. I'm much more willing to replay the Resident Evil 2 remake or Resident Evil Biohazard. I'm willing to replay those games like that again. I'm willing to replay Little Nightmares, right? I am not willing to replay Silent Hill F. And Resident Evil, Little Nightmares, those are as linear as they get, especially Little Nightmares. So you can't even blame me on saying that. It's not because the story would be different. It's not because it's not an open world game. No, it's not that. It's because it's not fun gameplay. It's not scary gameplay. This is not a horror game at all. It's not a horror game at all. It is a an action game. It is a fighting game, right? It is not scary. To further go into the story aspect of this game, and honestly, I might have to look up what this character's name is. I forget. Yeah, Eddie Dombrowski. Eddie Dombrowski is from Silent Hill 2, um, and he is an amazing character. He is a well, I'm not even necessarily a minor antagonist. He's somewhat of a major antagonist in many ways. He has a big part of the game. And his whole thing is he's overweight, he's fat, and he is he's like, what's the word? Sorry. Oh my god, I should have written a script. He's insecure about being, a bigger guy. And he copes by stress eating. He's been made fun of his entire life. He's been looked down upon his entire life. That sucks, right? This is an entire life of just being made lesser than everyone else. And eventually it gets to him, and the town of Silent Hill drives him to killing. And he attacks our main character, he attacks the protagonist. That's a very, very, very rudimentary explanation of what this character is, but just in that entire thing, that is a bigger, that's a larger amount of story behind a character than what we get during our first playthrough of Silent Hill F, and that's annoying, right? We should not have to play the game 2-3 times to get the bigger picture of what a character is. There were so many good lead ups in this game. I thought for the longest time I thought this game was going to go into the realm of Hinako is a girl who has a best friend, Shu. And I thought Shu was going to end up being kind of this overprotective, overbearing character friend who maybe has a crush on Hinako, and he's kind of a little bit manipulative. Maybe he, says and does things to Hinako to keep her on his side, to get her to do things that he wants her to do, not necessarily in a romantic or sexual way, but more so kind of changes her perspective and her opinions to things. There were many things, in my opinion, that alluded to that. There was a big part of the game that alluded to maybe Shu is not a good guy. Maybe he's more of an antagonist than we're led to believe. But it was just me making things up. Nope, that's not a thing. It was me making things up. Shu is a good guy. He doesn't, and of course, this is I'm making this during my first playthrough. Maybe in another playthrough, he does turn out to be a piece of trash. But during my first playthrough, I very much got I very much had the understanding that he's a good guy. He's not really evil. Rinko is definitely the bad one. And honestly, Hinako does not seem to be a good person either. And that was another thing. I thought they were trying to kind of play the game of kind of like Light Yagami, where he's technically the protagonist of the show, but he is an antagonist. He is a bad guy. He's not a good person. And I thought they were going to play that where because she was doing all this thing in the dream kind of fox mask world, where she was killing her friends, she was abandoning her friends, and I thought that was going to be like, oh no, she's actually a bad guy. She's the antagonist of this story, not the protagonist. Everyone else around her is being manipulated by her, and she's the problem. No. No, it's not. We are supposed to feel bad for her. We're supposed to feel bad for her. And I don't feel bad for her. She has very, very basic issues. She does not seem to be a good person, and it's not even purposeful by the developers that she's a bad person. She just straight up does not seem to be a good person. She's abused by her dad, and that's horrible. That's her biggest glaring issue. That's the only real issue she has. She has an abusive dad. And it's like, is it a conversation that people need to have? Yes, it's still a conversation that holds merit in today's society, but that's really her only thing. That's the only bad thing. I don't want to get into the political aspect of things. I don't want to get into the there's talks about, sorry, I'm stretching. There's talks about this game being, anti-natalist. There's talks about this game being, whatever you want to label it. I'm not, I never want to get political on this channel. This seems like it was a game that was catered to an audience that was looking more at the societal issues that were handled very poorly. I think they used, and this, it probably is a bad take. It probably is gonna offend someone out there, but I think that this game very much talked about issues that were out of its scope. I think it talked about issues it shouldn't have been talking about because it handled them poorly. Whereas other games in the series, I think Silent Hill 3? Yeah, Silent Hill 3 was about Heather Mason, a female Silent Hill character, and they did a good job depicting a female Silent Hill character. A lot of people don't like Silent Hill 3, but I think they did a better job than Silent Hill F about, displaying a female issue. In Silent Hill 2, there's Angela's monster. I think it's called Abstract Daddy. It's the monster that's, fused. It's kind of like fused in with a slab, and it's meant to depict something. Again, like I mentioned this monster earlier, it's meant to display and depict AS backwards. That boss fight alone is amazing. The boss fight is interesting. It's fun, especially in the remake. And it has such a good, strong, powerful design. It's a creepy design. It's a scary design, but it's a beautiful design, and it's beautiful because it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes. It is a good depiction. It is a good way to portray that Angela has been through something horrible. Then later on in that game, Angela's unable to live with those traumas that she felt. And she does what she does. That is powerful. That is not only depicting female issues in this country, which is not even only a female issue, and men can experience it too, but it's very common to happen with females. But regardless, it depicts female problems while also depicting universal problems, inability to move on from past traumas. That is something that boss fight does perfectly. That is something that character in Silent Hill 2 does perfectly. Maybe I should make an entire video about Angela. I don't know. Anyways, that is a good example of how modern day issues should be treated in a game. And Silent Hill typically is good at that. Silent Hill F is not. And I will stand by the opinion that Silent Hill F is only really glazed because it's set in Japan. People are weebs. People romanticize Japan. And that's really the only reason why anyone defends it as hardly as some people are defending it. It's not a bad game. Like I said, I do really like the game. I do enjoy it. I very far from hate or despise the game. But it's a little bit delusional, right? To sit there and say that the game is flawless. To sit there and say that the game is perfect, because it's not. That's, I guess, I've been yapping. I've been recording for over an hour now. I like this. I kind of like the yapping. I like the having no script thing. I'll probably do more videos like this, but I just hope that I can edit it in a way that does not make it seem like meaningless ramblings from a 20-year-old. But yeah, um, there's a lot more I could probably say about the game, but I'm gonna stop it here because I've been recording for a little bit. Um, if you watched all the way through to this point, thank you so much. Please consider liking the video, subscribing to my channel. I do think of this channel as more of a hobby. I'm not super serious about it right now, but I do want to uh, make videos about games, make videos about things that I find interesting. Again, it's mostly just going to be about games and things like that. I don't really want to get into anything super, serious on this channel. Maybe I'll do Reddit videos, whatever it is. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, thank you. Bye.